Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is the biggest room I've ever seen people that interested in SAP Business One versus Odoo. How many of you have seen SAP Business One? How many of you have how many of you are partners and want to kick out SAP Business One? Yes? Okay. This maybe is a roadmap. I'll try to help, okay? So my name's Greg Mader. I'm the president of Open Source Integrators, and I've been a Odoo partner for a number of years and know some of you. Thank you for coming. Let's talk a little bit about SAP Business One versus Odoo. Let's get right to it here. There's some things with Odoo that I believe offer a competitive advantage right away. It is web and mobile responsive. Manufacturing's pretty good. The barcoding exists out of the box, and with with some extensions or add-ons, you can do really sophisticated things with barcoding in Odoo, and it's just improved over the years. Odoo, you're not locked into one reporting engine. There's a lot of options for either internal reporting engines or reporting engines that exist as third parties. And there is something that's really important. How many of you come from a manufacturing background? Okay, Freppel team, why aren't you raising your hands? Okay, thank you. Traceability, quality management, ISO sorts of modules exist within the Odoo ecosystem, and they don't exist the same way in SAP. So those are all things that I do have one comment here. Crystal reports. Who likes Crystal reports? Any hands? Nobody? I agree. Crystal reports is not cool. So these are all the feature functionality things that, again, you can just use as your roadmap immediately for why Odoo is the better option. Getting to some intangible things that I think are kind of interesting. I updated this slide this morning when Fabian said that there's over 20,000 apps in the App Store now. There's all these other things we know that aren't included in the App Store that could be bolt-ons or add-ons as well. So we have, on top of the 20,000 apps, we also have an unlimited ecosystem. You agree, you work for Odoo, so we're all about the unlimited ecosystem. The yearly release cycle allows Odoo to constantly evolve, and certainly the community is pushing this as well. How many partners did Fabian said he had today? Because I didn't catch that for this. 2,390. Holy cow. Okay, thank you. So yeah, we beat them in all kinds of stuff. So getting to a specific customer, because I think I want to give you the roadmap for what we did, and as you guys look at potential customers, what worked and what didn't work, and hopefully we can help you with this. After 8 years of beating their heads against the wall, my customer in Indiana tried to do like a real RFP, systems-based differentiation of different partners and ultimately different ERP systems. They really did realize how inflexible Business One was, and the support channel was awful. And this customer didn't spare expense with partners. They went for the best of North America as their partners and still felt like they were struggling. So one thing that was pointed out to me that I think was really interesting was SAP partners really work hard to get account acquisitions, and then they just kind of fall apart when it's actually seen it through with an implementation and going beyond that. So I haven't asked you, in your history, did you have any SAP?
Yes.
Okay, no.
We have turned switch SAP customers.
Okay, you know what I'm going to talk about then. You're going to have that roadmap. Okay. So what I think we were able to do quickly with this customer was work with them on trying to figure out the differentiators. And with open source, there's a few things that I think really come up. So Odoo is a bit cheaper. There's this idea that the capital investment's a little lower. Odoo's ongoing costs are a little bit lower, and that's why you get lower operating costs. And development costs, I'm guessing if my friend Scott was here, he would say, well, you guys were about the same as the SAP partners when it actually came to that. But this is really the big driver, was the freedom and flexibility that you get with Odoo, that you don't get with a lot of other systems, including B1. We can have that discussion about is open core, add-ons, enterprise, but all of you know this. Even with the enterprise edition, you get total access to the source code. You can change those enterprise modules as you need to. And that turned out to be a huge differentiator for this team. So some considerations when migrating, and this is, again, if you're talking to potential customers about what their life is going to be like, they need to think about these sorts of things. And that, more than anything, it's coming up with defined business flows. Any ERP system will create an automated workflow. We all agree on that. However, what is it that you're trying to automate? And is that workflow actually optimized to give you the best results that you want? And if you can't have that discussion with the customer first, if they're just talking about, this software platform versus the other one, they need that process of maturing and education so that they understand it's actually more about the workflow and getting that correct, and then think about the automation and the platform for it. So some of the flexibility that our customer wanted, they really had a specialized idea of what they wanted in their CRM system. How many of you came to my CRM talk yesterday? Anybody? Okay. This is, you guys got a bit of a preview of this. This is the customer that really wanted some incredible customization of their CRM modules to allow very targeted, very precise targeting. Their total number of possible customers in the US is in the thousands. How many do they actually want to go after every year and do targeted marketing towards? Maybe 1,000, and be very precise in how they were spending their marketing money. So they looked for really customizing their CRM, their touch points, custom, the understanding of Dun & Bradstreet and Hoover's market data here, being able to do customized print layouts here. We chose Pentaho. At the time, it was the best reporting engine. And there's been other reporting engines that have improved since then. And getting into something that's really was important to them was disassembly. So part of their product line, and I'll go into this a little bit more here, was being able to take their products are infinitely customizable, where you can take one component from this box and a different component from another one and marry them together with different controls and actuators that go with them. So we needed to be able to take their on-hand inventory and be able to define all the other types of inventory that were that could be made out of it. So that turned out to be a pretty important, powerful thing that we needed to do. Okay. Another example of it here. So this is where we have the disassembly button, the where to get more parts if we wanted to build other completely new systems out of not even a phantom bomb, but like this potential to build something that didn't actually exist right now. We could do it as one-offs here and grab other parts from other systems to be able to get it. We needed to show some additional data in this, including the Dun & Bradstreet numbers. Which customer classes did we want to pursue? What are the products that align with those customers? And from that, We had some initial integrations with GIS. We used the Google geocoding API to do some address validation and get locations correct. We've done, and we also have some visualization that I'll show in a minute regarding GIS, plus some BI tools. This really did allow them to do some, which products are we going to sell today? This company, even though it's an industrial B2B company, would often get specials that had very limited times on them in order to get the maximum return back from the manufacturer that they were selling for. To the daily sales effort, there was this idea of, can this system actually can we assemble a call plan and on a daily basis have a different sales strategy? Fabrice is smiling. Is this what you're doing in San Francisco? Daily call plans and
variation of that.
You are okay, but you are doing something like that. Interesting. Okay. The idea of being able to managing follow-ups throughout the account acquisition and being able to have very carefully designed campaigns so that customers in different markets, or even down to individual customers, we could have individualized campaigns for them. Again, back to the SAP versus Odoo. They couldn't do any of this in SAP. We could do it in Odoo. To some of the marketing data automation, we talked about this a little bit, but the idea of actually being able to geocode and get to, we have their industry codes there. We have standardized addresses. We can put dots on maps, and I'll show that in a second. Also being able to get to some of the business intelligence data that we purchased from a third party were things like their financial information, their revenue, their assets, the square footage of their buildings, if we knew their ownership type or anything, but this again allowed us to know who were the decision makers, where were they located, and be able to really get to very precise characteristics of the company. In fact, we extended the Odoo CRM system by by 50 characteristics that allowed us to do this sort of very pinpointed marketing. These custom dashboards were actually meant for the outside sales team who would be looking at iPads. This was done in Pentaho, linked up in a live manner to the Postgres database. So kind of a poor man's data warehouse. And by doing that, we were able to have really nice analytics that were out there for the sales force that's out in the field. With this, we had sales orders and invoices by product group, by territory. We also had quick views of accounts, payables, and receivables. A little bit about Pentaho, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we were able to do very quick reports again that could be pushed out to mobile devices. So uses the same platform for Odoo, and we very happy. So again, I'm going to try not to spend a ton of time on Pentaho, but this allowed us to have this sales performance dashboard that we were able to, again, break down to locations by product type, by customer type, and really give the sales force real-time information about what was working and what wasn't working. One thing that was really important out of this, again, trying to be very precise in marketing, this allowed us to do key and target accounts, right? Key accounts are accounts you already have, customers you already have, and being able to do analysis on them and what else do they need and try to grow those. Target accounts, the idea is who are the ones like that you want to go after, and it's not going after everybody, but picking the 5 or 10 that you think are the best chances going forward. So this has evolved from here, but this was one of the first attempts we've had at integrating GIS with Odoo, and we've done more since then. But this is live and in production and being happily used. We can map all customer locations, toggle clustering identify these key and target accounts, as well as do a bit of a heat map, as you can see. We can also filter by NAICS or 6 codes, these industry codes, by revenue or margin, by number of orders, sales by product, or sales by category. So again, giving a different way of visualizing the data. Within this, with each point, you can pull Odoo data, the sales orders, the company addresses. This turned out to be just a different front end for Odoo, and it was kind of beautiful. We were querying out of there to get all the information you'd see in a customer record, but again, make it very easy for a not terribly educated field sales force to be able to use. In the future, we're going to do some more customization with some better color coding, sizes, and custom icons here too. Okay. Thoughts on change management? Anybody here think change management's not very important? Okay, Fabrice, why not? I'm going to pick on you.
I didn't hear the negative in the sentence.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else want to take a guess at why change management isn't important? Jonathan?
No, just like Fabrice, I didn't hear that.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. How many of you think change management's maybe the most important thing you do as you're taking a project live? Yeah? Really? And those of you that don't say it's the most important, I'm curious. Talk to me afterwards. I want to learn what is if it's not change management. This project was no different. So even though we were going from a system that was hated, and I do mean hated, moving to Odoo caused, let's say, some emotional moments, maybe some concern. This is different. This is, you know, there's always this sense of people, you're not doing it, but I'm going to pick on you for a second. Of the person in the back of the room doing this, just leave me alone. You know, and they don't want their job to change. They don't want to learn the new system. This was no different. Within that change management component, what we found worked was what you're seeing here. This idea of having training, listening, understanding to the stakeholders as they're impacted. So telling the person, yeah, you're right, it is different. I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit of a change. But let's walk through it together, and in a couple of weeks, if you're still having problems with it, let's chat. Maybe we can come up with a better approach or something that'll fix this. There was this idea of, I'll be honest, of hiring people as new folks came on, maybe introducing them to the fact that, hey, we have some new great software, and that was one of the ways of managing change management, was just as staff attrition, retirements, and so forth happened, bringing new people on quickly and doing training with them effectively then. Scope and budget management is part of every transition of every project of, are we on time, are we meeting the budget requirements? And I'd say my big lesson for this is don't surprise people, right? If people feel surprised, that's when they feel perhaps more uncertain about it. So even if you have, when you see like potential upscope or scope creep, it's just being real honest, like, hey, that's a great idea. Can we do that in a little bit? And let's put it on the board and we'll all look at it together. We'll reflect on that. And if we decide we still need to do that in a week or a month or whatever, we're happy to do that and we'll add the budget for it. But let it sit for a little bit. So some things that we gained in Odoo that we couldn't do in B1. We really did help this company realize their competitive advantage via Odoo flexibility. And that's what I'd say, going back to the beginning of these slides, and I'll go back there in a second. This is something all of you have the opportunity to do too. If you're up against B1, talk about the flexibility, the customization that's available, the lower cost certainly, but I think ultimately, let's go back here. It's on a feature-by-feature basis, you can already win the project. You have a better product to go out and represent than your B1 competitors. Cool. What questions do you have? It's after lunch, so I don't know if people are drowsy or not. What questions do you have, anybody? Sir?
I have no doubt that Odoo is better. However, for now we have seen the advantages of Odoo. Is there any area where Odoo is not yet up to par compared to SAP V1?
Okay, my politically not very correct answer is we don't do as good a job of marketing ourselves as a software community, as a platform. No one's going to get fired for hiring or for buying B1, right? If you're an IT director and you say, you know, B1, and the other leadership team isn't going to know any different. They're not going to. They're going to say, yeah, we've heard of SAP, and they'll hear of bad stories of SAP, but they still know that's the standard. What we haven't been able to do is we're still taken less seriously, I believe, as a community and as a software platform. We don't have the name recognition, and if you go to a group of executives and you say Odoo is the right choice, they're going to say, what's Odoo? And they'll say, well, it's this great company based in Belgium with an office in San Francisco and one in Hong Kong, and they're kind of the up-and-comer. And even at that point, they're either going to be on board with it being the up-and-comer, or if they're really conservative, that's going to be a warning flag for them that they don't, you know what I'm talking about, yeah. So that's where I'd say we were able to beat SAP Business One feature by feature, including financial accounting. But what you have a much harder time doing is overcoming their marketing budgets, and I don't think we're at that point yet. So, yes, ma'am.
You haven't mentioned anything about cost.
About cost? Okay, the question is cost of SAP Business One versus Odoo. In my not huge sample of just several companies, all in, so total cost of implementation plus licenses and everything else, the complete Odoo implementation is 30 to 40% cheaper than a comparable SAP Business One. That's not a huge sample, and I could be wrong on that, but that's what I've seen in my sample.
What do you think, how we can suggest a customer using SAP to migrate to Odoo?
How do we suggest a customer who's using SAP to consider migration?
Yeah.
There's a logical point, and that's when there's some sort of an upgrade that takes place. That I believe is a key point. If they're saying, okay, I'm using Business One from 4 years ago and I need to do an upgrade, maybe for security reasons or whatever, at that point where they're considering an upgrade, I think is a good time to logically say, hey, have you considered some options for maybe about the same amount of money, maybe a little bit less? What if you had a much more modern and improved system? That would be I think that's the target point, is look for those upgrades.
Maybe customer is more interested in knowing what are the advantages apart from the cost. What are the benefits that we get in all this?
Yes. Yes, sir.
What about the data migration? So what was the biggest pain in that process?
I have a belief, and it's not shared by everybody. But I believe, so the question is about the data migration from SAP Business One. It wasn't trivial. I'm not going to say it was. But it's not trivial even if you're upgrading between versions of SAP Business One, that there's like a data conversion step that they need to do to go to the next schema. And with, here's my controversial statement. What's the least amount of data that you can migrate? Fabrice agrees with me. He and I have talked about this. So what's the least amount of data? Do you really need 7 years of journal entry level accounting data? And there's people that believe that yes, they need that. Versus what if we just did opening balances and took over open invoices, open POs, and called it good, you know? And that's something I'd say anytime you're talking to people about migrating between platforms, My question is always, what's the least amount of data that we can migrate for you? Okay, yes, sir, in the back.
What was the business impact for that company when you introduced Odoo?
What was the business impact for this company when we introduced Odoo?
Revenue, turnover, whatever.
Sure. The things that I'd say that they've done is it helped them really revolutionize their sales. That would be the big ROI driver, was it enabled outside and inside sales to be much more efficient, and through that, that's what drove the rest of their revenue. This is a company that's a manufacturer's rep, so they sell industrial goods, but you can think of them as a sales organization. So anything we could do to help them get one more sales call a day and have a higher percentage of closing or target the right companies, that's how it worked.
What's the number?
I'm not at liberty to say. It was good. Cool. Yes, ma'am.
What triggers the change from SAP to Odoo from an ERP tool? You mentioned upgrade.
I think there's a few places in any ERP. The question was, what was it that triggers companies to move from SAP to Odoo? I do think I think the right place is when they're in the middle of an upgrade. I think that's one of it. But really, why are they going to an upgrade? It's because they're frustrated and this current system isn't meeting all of their needs right now, right? And that's where I think the important thing is to recognize that they want something new. And it could be a continuation of the old system, or it could be at that point that they're ready to talk about a new system. And that's why I think just human nature, you kind of know something stinks and it's not great, but that may be the time to ask them, hey, are you ready to try something new? And from there, in our approach, we do some sort of a gap analysis and pilot and kind of let them talk themselves into that decision of, yeah, I can see how this is the right thing for us. So, did I answer your question? Okay. I saw a hand back here.
The question first one, were there other options for them? And second question is, how much time?
There were many other options for these guys. They could have easily have gone to Infor, to I'm trying to think of, well, to Microsoft Dynamics. The US market has no lack of really good ERP systems as competitors. So the thing is I don't know about the other markets, but we're having to compete every day against really big names with a lot of money. We won this over because they were frustrated enough with B1 that they took a very broad-minded approach for, I want to know all my options. And then the open source flexibility was what won. So, cool. What else, folks? Yes, sir.
You mentioned Pentaho for coding and all that, and since then you've tested others and all that. Do you want to elaborate? Which one?
So, Odoo's BI has come a long ways. There's, the thing I'd say about Odoo is you have options for BI tools, right? Even now there's a million of them. I'd always say start with Odoo's BI tools, and only if you see that there's some limits to that, maybe look at something else after that now. There still are cases for it. I saw one last hand back there.
You just mentioned the period when you start to get live.
Sure. How long did it take to implement us? We got the first phase of this done in 90 days. And that was with accounting and a few other things. We've had future or ongoing phases after it. It's been a long-term phase product or project. Since you're sitting next to Fabrice, he knows who this person is. He's met him. They're still like our best friends. That's a goal too. For an ERP implementation, can you still stay friends with the customer at the end? Okay? Big goal. Try to do that. Anything else? Yes, sir.
You mentioned the cost difference between 30 and 40% difference. On a yearly basis after the initial implementation, what are we looking at differences?
I'd say astronomically cheaper for Odoo, to be honest, because Odoo's licensing costs, even with every so often Odoo kind of changes their mind about how they're going to do licensing costs. Odoo is still cheaper than certainly like B1. B1 would be maybe 7 times the cost, I believe, for the same company. Yeah. Anything else? It looks like the other group's ready to come in. Cool. 20 minutes is not long enough. Thanks, everybody.
Network? Yes. Good. Can you hear me? Is it working? No. Hello? 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello? 1, 2, 1, 2. Test. Ouais, ça marche. Bah, j'ai vu, ça bougeait. 1, 2, 1, 2. Quoi? Test, test, test. Sans micro, alors. Test, test, test. Mais là, ça... Okay, thanks for being here. GraphQL. I will ask you first a quick question. Who knows what GraphQL is? Yeah. And who is using it actually in production something? Okay, good. So I like to start this talk with a short story of why we started using GraphQL with Odoo. And actually it was almost a year ago. We started a very big Odoo project where we were replacing Salesforce, and that project had the particularity that the Salesforce we were replacing was really the middle piece of their IT architecture, and they had many applications doing all kind of queries and update towards Salesforce, and they were using the Salesforce database directly, so it was impossible for us to reproduce the same interfaces, and we really wanted to provide them an easy and professional mechanism to interface with the new Odoo. And I was thinking actually they had 6 different teams that wanted to call the new Odoo and to extract and send data to the new Odoo. And I was thinking the time was short, and I was thinking about the best way to replace all those interfaces. And of course with Odoo, the first that comes to mind is to use XML-RPC, which is there. It works out of the box, it's nice. But in our opinion, it has 2 big drawbacks. The first one is that it's quite low level. It exposes really the nitty-gritty details of the Odoo object model. And in such an architecture, actually, it's a big drawback, because when you upgrade Odoo, the data model is going to change, small or large changes. And, well, you know, it's hard enough to do an upgrade, but if on top of upgrading Odoo you need to upgrade the whole world, it's not going to work. And the other drawback is that to use XML-RPC, you need to have an intimate knowledge of the details of the Odoo internal data model. And so we had no time to teach all those 6 teams the details of that data model. So we were looking to something better for that particular use case. And of course we could have done REST services, but designing good REST services takes time. And at the same point, I was seeing a new web framework using GraphQL, and I dug a little bit into that. And initially I thought GraphQL, well, it comes from Facebook, it's graphs in it, so, well, we don't really have a graph database, so it's not for us. But when you look into it, you quickly discover that actually GraphQL is just another mechanism to implement web services. And when you look at it this way, you get a totally different perspective, and it really gives you interesting ideas. And what I'm going to do in 20 minutes is try to give you a feeling of what GraphQL is and how to use it with Odoo, and why it's easier in use case similar to the one I'm talking about than other web services technologies. So I'm Stefan, I'm the CTO of Axon, a software engineering company specializing in open source technologies. I'm an elected member of the OCA board. And yeah, maybe the most important part in that is that in my career I've used a lot of different RPC mechanisms, enough to know that this one is really a game changer in that technology, in my opinion. So yeah, GraphQL, really look at it as another remote procedure called protocol, like SOAP, REST, or anyone you can think of. The characteristics is that the request format is specific to GraphQL, so it's the GraphQL query language. It looks like JSON, but it's not. It's really a specific language. Also interesting is that the response to the queries are pure JSON, so it's very, very easy to process. There is a schema language, so you can interrogate on GraphQL endpoint to discover the available queries and schemas and data types. Transport mechanism is HTTPS, so it's very easy to do a GET or POST to do a query. And to implement it on the server side, there is a big variety of server-side library. In Python, there is a good one called Graphene, which I'll use in the examples today. And on the client side, you really don't need any library to use it, because once you have your query, it's a string, you send it, and you get back JSON. So you really don't need a specific GraphQL library on the client side to use it. And in integration scenario, it's very good, because you can talk to PHP developers, .NET developers. It really doesn't matter. They all get up to speed very quickly with the technology. So the example I show you will be based we'll expose these 2 types over GraphQL based on the familiar partner model of Odoo. So we take a partner which has contacts, a few attributes, and the country, which is a complex type. I'm not doing a live demo, no risks, yet it's very easy. when you install the GraphQL module that we built in OCA, actually you get in your browser an interactive development environment. It's a small JavaScript application that looks like this. On the right side, you have a documentation explorer, so you can navigate, discover the available queries and data types and so on. So typically you have two entry points, query and mutation, queries for queries, mutations for updates. When I click on query in this case, I see the available query. So here I have one that's called all partners, give me all the partners with possibly a filter saying companies only, give me only partners which are companies, with limit offset to do some paging. And all partners is going to return a list of partners, right? Pretty easy. You can do anything you want. So not only query database, you can do computations, whatever. So here I have a trivial one which is called reverse. You give it a word and it will return the word with the letters reversed. Just an example to show you that you don't really need to have a database to do GraphQL. You can do any kind of processing. If you click on partner, or rather on all partner, you get a bit more detail on the query, so the return time. I have no description here, but you can put documentation on all queries. So your client developers they don't need to ask you questions. You give them the endpoint, they can look at the documentation and they are on their way. And then if I click on partner, I get the details of the partner type, name, which is mandatory string, street, and so on, country, which is complex type country, and then you can do recursive data structure. So in this case, contacts is also a list of partner and so on. Okay. And then you can start building your query interactively. So if you type query, control space, you have code completion, so you get the available queries, all partners. And then it becomes interesting because contrarily to REST, for instance, is the client who decides what he wants to receive from the server. So he's not obliged to get all the data about partners. It's the client who is going to choose which fields he wants to receive. So in this example, I want to receive name, email, and his company only. I click run, and I can preview the result. And you see that the response mirrors the query. So in the query, I wanted all partners, I get all partners. I wanted for each partner the name, email, and company, I get name, email, company in the list for each partner. So the response mirrors the query. The same a little bit bigger. And then you can add parameters. So for instance, if I want to query only companies, I type companies only is true, I get only companies. And then you can navigate the data structure. So if in the client I want name and email of companies, but for contacts I want name and phone, I just put contact, name, phone, and again the response mirrors the query. So name, email, contacts, and in contacts you get name, phone, and so on. So you get the ID, you can navigate the data structure. And if you start exposing like sale orders, invoice, whatever, you can really expose the whole complex data model, and it's really the client who is in control. I go a bit quickly. There is a variable mechanism, so when you have built your query, you can just copy that as a constant in your code and then send the query with the string and a small JSON with the variable. So it's very easy for the client developer. It's a simple HTTP post and so on. And so I spent the next 5 minutes giving you an idea of how it looks like in Odoo. By the way, all this is in the demo module that comes with the OCA module. So in this case, I'm going to model the country type. So country is an object which has a code which is a string and name which is a string. They are both required. And you start a Python file like that to create your schema. Then you continue, partner, is also a class with name, requires string, street, blah, 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 and so on. IsCompany is a Boolean. So you declare all data types. It's quite intuitive. And you see that so far I have nothing else to expose those types. Why? It's because the underlying Odoo object is going to have the exact same attributes than those. And so automatically, the Graphene library is going to look at the attributes of the Odoo object with the same name to populate the result. Okay? But for countries, it's a little bit different. You have seen the example I expose a country field of type country, but the Odoo REST partner object has no country field. It has a country underscore ID field. It's not the name. And so to make that work, you implement a simple static method which is called resolve underscore country, so the same name, which return the value you want. So in this case, I return root, which is going to be the related Odoo object, dot country ID, or none, because Odoo returns false or null, which, yeah, it's a bit unnatural for Graphene. But it's just that. That's how the mapping of different field names is done. And because country ID is compatible with the country type, it has the same name and code we want to expose, it's just going to work, nothing else to do. Yeah. And then we continue to expose the contacts. Same thing, contacts is a list of partners. It's mandatory. An Odoo REST partner has no contact field, but it has a child IDs field. And same thing, resolve contact, return child IDs. Child IDs is a list, so it's compatible with, it's a list of partners, so it's compatible with that type. And that's it. It's just going to work and be exposed. And to finish the story, we expose all partners. If you remember, this was the query I was demonstrating just before. All partner is also a list of partner, nothing else to do, but it has 3 parameters: companies only, limit, offset. That's the way to do it, quite simple as a syntax. And then always the same mechanism, all partner that doesn't exist nowhere, so I write a resolver, resolve all partners. And resolve all partners is going to build a query, so we build an Odoo domain. If we want companies only, we create a domain, is companies true. And then we just do the search on REST partner with the domain limit offset that I got as parameter. That's going to return a list that is compatible with my all partner type, which is a list of partner, and is going to work. And then you pack everything in a schema. So you say my schema is a Graphene schema with the query I just built before. And that's the whole code. That's all there is to it to make a working demo that I showed you before. And then you create yourself a simple controller. You just need to do once in your application. You choose the root. The root is GraphQL for the interactive development environment. You give it the schema. And the other route is GraphQL/demo for the clients who are doing HTTP get and post. And the whole code is there. You can look at the demo module. There is nothing else than that to make it work. All right? So think of it as another RPC mechanism similar to SOAP or Corba, whatever, depending on your age, you will recognize some. With really much more, first a very, very fast implementation on the server side. You see there is not much to it, it's really unbeatable in terms of code quantity to expose the service. And that makes it possible and very economical to create ad hoc APIs on top of Odoo, which expose a data model that is just what your customer needs and not the whole thing. It's also easy to test, by the way. It's also very easy to write unit tests. And so you can be confident that when you do that with a few unit tests, you are going to expose a stable API that is easy to understand by your client developer, because they will not need to learn all the tricky details of the Odoo data model. And your API has a chance to survive an upgrade when the Odoo data model evolves over time. So you give more stability and a cleaner architecture to your clients. Maybe I published a full slide. Maybe an attention point is performance. If you write your resolvers too naively, you risk performance problem. Like you remember the contacts resolver? If you implement it by doing a search on parent IDs root.id, it will work, but it will be slow because for each contact, it will do another query to the database to get the related contact. Whereas if you use the Odoo ORM by returning child IDs, there you will benefit from the optimization of the Odoo prefetching mechanism. And it will basically do one query to prefetch all the children of the record set you are returning, and it will reuse the result for each contact, because this resolve contact is going to be called for each main partner. So you need to be careful to not redo the same query over and over and over. So you need to use the ORM to be efficient. And also, you are not obliged to follow my advice here. It would be easy in principle to create a module that is going to expose the whole Odoo data model in GraphQL. Would be cool to explore it, but that's not something I would recommend in a real architecture, for the same reason that exposing XML RPC has those drawbacks, exposing all the details. So in my opinion, in an enterprise architecture, it's better to create a facade that is on the domain model that is specific to the use case you have. Also be careful with access control. With that, there is one entry point, and from that the clients can navigate all the types you have exposed. So it's important that your record rule and access rule are correct to really restrict access at the ORM level. That's important. And yeah, this is it. So really, GraphQL is less scarier and easier to use than it sounds. So I really encourage you to look at it. It's a powerful alternative to REST. It's very easy to integrate, as you see, in a Python application, and that's first-hand experience from big projects at Axon. You see back-end developers being very productive creating those APIs, and also front-end developer or client developer quickly getting up to speed and not needing a big training to start using that. You just spend 15 minutes giving them the GraphQL interface, and off they go and just work. So in the slide you get some links. I recommend you to start with the GraphQL documentation. It's well written and easy to read. Then there is the documentation for the Graphene library in Python, which, by the way, supports other frameworks too, like Django and stuff. And for Odoo, I put the links for the two modules. So you have the GraphQL base, which is the base module which you can use to create your controller with your own schema, and a demo module which includes the example that I've shown here, plus a couple of other examples, and also an example of how to do a mutation, that is a service that doesn't update or create on the database. And thank you very much. Yes?
Have you tried to make some import process
Some
import process, importing process.
importing.
Importing data.
We have done some services, for instance, to create sale orders, things like that, but not high volume data imports. But
Be a way to import data because this is much more generic and lots of problems on conversions.
Yes. If you have a frequent import of the same data structure to do, it's a clean way to expose a mutation to do the import. Yes, that's correct.
It'd be interesting to explore massive data.
Yeah. Yes.
What is better with ERP pitch?
With
RPitch.
RPitch is the library.
The library of Python to push data to interact straight with
yeah, I see. RPeak. Yeah, I see. But again, RPeak is good in use cases when you need to access the whole data model. But for the same architectural reason, if you have many different teams that are going to with applications that have a different life cycle than your ERP, to me it's better to expose a clean, well-documented interface that is limited to what you want to expose and nothing else. So you are sure that the clients will not go fiddle in other objects that you don't want them to touch. And when you will upgrade Odoo, like if you upgrade from 12 to 13, if you expose these invoices and move line, it will not work anymore if they are using XML-RPC, because in 12 they become the same objects. So there is a model that has disappeared and fields that have moved. If you have done like that, a query for invoices and a query for move line, you can quickly redevelop your queries and your client developer will not have to change anything. And so, to me, it's important to consider if you have interfaces with other systems.
Yes, but you have to map like for country.
Yes. You have to map it, so it's a little bit more work to create the service than just saying use XML-RPC. If you say them use XML-RPC, you have nothing to do now, but you have to explain to the clients what the data model of Odoo is, and sometimes it's not easy to understand. You need to learn it. And when you will upgrade Odoo, you will need at the same time to upgrade the client application. When you do it like that, you do you redo the mapping, you retest it, but you don't have to change or to involve the teams of the client developers. Yes?
Am I understanding correctly that it's that easy because somebody already written that Odoo module object that can be used for mapping? Otherwise, it would be more complicated.
Actually, the Odoo module that does GraphQL is quite simple. I wrote it myself. It's quite simple, and it's simple because it's based on the Graphene library on one side, which implements the GraphQL protocol, and on the other side, it uses the Odoo ORM, which is very powerful, and the two mix well, very, very well, and that's why it's. Because we have the two, the ORM and Graphene, it's so easy to implement those mappings. Yes?
Do you expose the data modules and say ORM modules? Because do you respect the rights and all the kind of things, or do you expose directly the data? For example, when I make a I have calculated fields, calculated automatically by Odoo engine.
Yes.
And if I want to...
So the question is if we expose the database or the object model. Yeah. It works at the model of the object level. So if you want to expose computed field, it works exactly the same way as I've shown. So it's
That's right. Or internal mechanism of Odoo?
Yes, absolutely. It maps at the level of the Odoo ORM. So if you have computed fields, they will just work.
External application can write data on Odoo.
So the question is if the application can write data on Odoo. Yes, because GraphQL has a mechanism which is called mutations to do updates. And so the syntax is a little bit different. I have no time to show, but you can look in the demo module. There is an example. For instance, I think the example creates a partner as an example, but you can write and yes.
How do you handle the security? Which creates kind of
Sorry, I didn't understand. Security.
Authentication. The authentication.
Yes, authentication is a good question. So in the example here, I think I showed the example where I use user authentication. That works well for the interactive development environment. For programmatic calls, we usually use API key authentication. There is an OCA model which is called Auth API key, which lets you authenticate with a secret key in an HTTP header. And the query authenticates again that header and then sudo to a user you specified to actually execute the request. Yeah. We say stop, so if there are other questions, we can discuss outside. Thank you very much.
Hello? Ah, it's working now. Okay, not many people left, but it's a very niche module. So basically, this is a presentation of our module. It's for diet catering module. This is for diet catering industry. We are a small company. We started just in February this year, but we are in Odoo since 3 years. So we've been studying, we've been actually friends from studies. I started with YouTube channel, then we got some customers. Some of us have been working with Odoo full time. And that's how we started. Now we have more customers. About the diet catering. Diet catering is a growing industry, especially in Western Europe. This is kind of a service where the customer can get a personalized diet delivered daily to his location. So this is important from the regular citizen points of view, as they don't need to cook themselves. They can order online and they get the stuff daily. And in the future probably it will be like this. You just open your fridge and it's already there. So the interesting thing is, just around Warsaw there's around 100 companies. Warsaw is capital of Poland. 100 companies doing this kind of a business, and several hundred in UK, and only 3 companies in Poland providing this kind of software. So we just hit the niche with our customer. And basically this is a module that integrates with Odoo. We started with Odoo 12, and it's fully compatible with other Odoo modules, including Teams. So the customer is not tied with us or any other company. He can download it from the App Store and use other providers. From the customer experience point of view, we changed how the customer selects the variants of the product. So we have a type of diet, then if it's gluten-free, so inclusions, exclusions, number of calories, number of meals, then he can choose the particular days he wants to have it delivered, if it's on Saturdays or Sundays. And at the end of the day, it's integrating with e-commerce in Odoo. So even if the customer buys something from the shop, it will come to the cart and it will be processed as usually by Odoo. We also added a couple building blocks for BMI calculator, BMR, macro, calorie calculator. So once the customer gets this module, he can start working out of the box. It's everything, including the small things like building blocks, couple improvements to the contact form. And the biggest thing in here is that the classic modules in the market are based on the WooCommerce, so it's a WordPress. They don't give an opportunity for the customer to modify, to manage entire company, and Odoo does. So for example, our customer started with our module, and now he's developing other modules, and he's using Odoo for HR, for fleet management, and all other aspects of his company. And this is huge improvement from the company point of view, as it makes work easier for dietitians, kitchen staff, and because they're thinking about implementing it into the Odoo Enterprise, so they can manage accounting as well. So it's additional saving. An interesting thing is most of the companies of this type, they're using Excel spreadsheets. So this is a huge move when it comes to the workflow. In terms of interface, we've just added a new menu item. It's a product planner. It can be renamed. Inside we have plans where you can configure the plan, orders, pricing, and all other things that you need to run it. So there is an Odoo and there is this module, and customer doesn't need to use any other functionalities if he don't need to. He can manage his entire business using this one thing. So as I mentioned, in the product planner, step by step, customer can click, create a diet, add inclusions, exclusions. So this is basically products. This is a package for product because there's more, it's too much, too many variants in there, so we have to put it into the package. And the only two necessary things are meals and calories, as all of the companies in this industry are offering a number of meals based on the calories for the final customers. The orders and quotations we implemented just from Odoo. It is available still in Odoo, but just to have it in one place, customer can manage his orders straight from the diet planner. And then, of course, he can personalize the prices. This is very similar to the Odoo delivery module. So he can set the price based on the number of meals. He can provide the discounts based on the length of the contract with customers. So how, like, maybe 5 days is 5% of discounts, 20 days is 20%. And of course, he can add discounts or price actions based on his other variants of the products, because it's unlimited. Yeah, it's Odoo. The important thing is the last tab, the reports. Here, customer has an opportunity. Firstly, the kitchen staff knows what to cook today, and actually we have only 3 customers for now, but they all want to have this visible what has to be done for tomorrow, because they're usually cooking a day before. And the cook has also the ability to assign the driver. In small companies, maybe 5 or 10 employees, kitchen staff made the product and they assign the driver who has to deliver. But there is also in the reporting a delivery section. Oh, switched off. Oh yeah. Where the drivers can see what has to be delivered, and they can reschedule it, so they can drag and drop the stuff to easily manage where to deliver, because they know who to deliver fast. Yes. So I will show you this in the live. This is one of our customers. This is like a small chain. They have franchises around the UK. So as you can see, this project is not yet on live. They're testing this with selected customers. And from their point of view, what they only had to do after installation, the module, they had to add this little thing into the menu. So just a shortcut, because our module is creating a website that handles the meals. So let's see. We can choose, let's say, fit and balanced. Then exclusions, maybe halal. Then number of calories. Take it out and check another day. Also, this functionality is not really available in Odoo, because in Odoo you have one delivery, and in here the customer can choose the particular days where it will be delivered. We also added time preferences. Here is only one, but you can add as many as you like. And also location. As you can see, some customers, they want to leave their meals behind a wheelie bin, which is a bit weird. But yeah, everything what they needed is here. Of course, it can be switched off. There's a tick box in the backend. And then what happens? We have the summary. So we get the diet, inclusions or exclusions, calories, number of meals, number of days, total price. And we just submit. As you can see, I ordered something before. And then the rest is handled by Odoo. Yeah. When it comes to the backend, this is not a live server, this is just test. So the GDPR ready. Yeah, we have the product planner. Creating a new meal is as easy as clicking create a button. You put the name of the meal, and then maybe I show you on this particular thing. So we have this kind of the diet, name of the diet, how many calories, then another meals, And then in this particular case, this is multi-select, so you can select 1, 2, 3, 4 meals, whatever, and you can specify the minimum. And this calories thing is where the system calculates the calories on the front end. So this is percent. So breakfast is 30%, lunch is 30%, and so that's how you calculate it. And that's interesting because we've seen this in the competitors' software. It was just dividing equally, but that was small missing bits. Not hard to do from the back end. Okay, when it comes to the orders, well, it's classic order. Whatever is ordered, it will be here. Okay, so if the customer hasn't finished his order, it will be visible as a quotation, so we can contact him. Something maybe went wrong, maybe would you like to order it, maybe we can give you a discount or something, and you can create an invoice as in the usual Odoo flow. One more interesting thing is a customer can create different price rules per his meals. So in this particular case, if there is 2 meals ordered, that would be 7 euros per day. Then 3 meals, we add 2 euro. 4 meals, we add another 2 euro. So for 4 meals, it would be 11 euro per day. And of course, the discounts, here we have 7 days or more, 5%. Of course, if you add another one, there will be another 5 or 10% or whatever you choose. And for every single attribute that you add, you can select your own pricing. Of course, it's the original pricing. If you set up in the variants of the product, it will still work and still be available. It doesn't break any natural Odoo functionalities. And then when it comes to the reports, as you can see, there's to be processed and to be delivered. So let's see to be processed. Nothing for tomorrow. Okay. So in here, this view is for the cook. He can see what is delivered. Actually, we can see because we removed the filters. So what's delivered, what's in transit, what's ready, what's waiting for the pickup. And as you can see, the customer order was split into the 5 different sales orders with the same number. This is because it has to be split as it will be delivered daily. So the usual flow from the point of view in the kitchen, they just look inside, they see what they need to prepare. If there is any additional info, notes, no notes in here, they prepare the stuff and they can assign it to driver. Actually, this one was assigned. We can put pick up by driver, and then this will change into in transit. So what driver can do? Drivers can use only this filter. So they can drag and drop if they have more than one. Sometimes they have 10 or 15 different orders in different parts of the cities, because this kind of companies, they working around one city. So our first customer is from Hull, from UK, and he's just delivering to the neighbor villages and in one town. So he's using zip codes. So he puts zip codes in here, and driver will know exactly where is the customer. Maybe it's easier to deliver to this customer first, so he can change the order. As simple as that. And once he delivered this to the customer, you just hit mark as delivered. Yeah. So this is delivered now. So the company manager can see, okay, this and this and this is delivered. And of course, you can select and print more than one. For example, if you need a report for the kitchen, yeah, we have everything what has to be done right now and for which customer. So this is kind of a simple module, but it is needed for some industry. If it wasn't, we wouldn't do that. And there are, well, it's delivered, we earned money and we don't really care. And then we can use another Odoo tool to ask customer how was the order. Yeah? But we're developing it step by step, so customer learned this. He's also using mass mailing. for the marketing, and we'll be adding another functionalities with time, because moving from Excel to Odoo is not as easy. I mean, they got their habits. Yeah. And in the settings, as you've seen on the front end, you can specify what is visible for the time of the delivery. So in here we have morning and evening, and for the back end there's a time. So you can put afternoon here, and what time would it be? Yeah. Same with the delivery locations. As easy as couple clicks. So customer can buy this module and use it straight away with Odoo. And he doesn't even need to ask us how to do it, because he can do Odoo himself. We provide the blog with all instructions on how to work with Odoo, but all the custom functions are possible. One thing which is not in the product planner is modified delivery method. So this is simple, but it is also needed by the business. Yeah. So you fix the price. There's a fixed price for delivery. If the customer ordered for 10 days, that would be €10. Yeah. But in some cases, customer can decide, like, let's say, if someone ordered over 4 meals, it will be for free. So we just check in here. As simple as that. There are a couple more functionalities in here that are very simple, like in the company, we've added an opening hours tab. Not here, sorry. Opa. And this will be displayed on the front end. Also for the customers, for the contacts, there is another tab called Health tab, so they can keep track which customer has what kind of weight, how tall are they, so they can customize the diets for them, because they also have dietitians working for them. Okay, it's not on this instance, sorry. Yep, I can show you on the front end the live server. So let's say contact us. Things like this, simple things making business better. You know. Any questions? No. That's good.
About how you manage product variants, you mentioned that you use the package.
Yeah, I can show you. See, the product variants are in the product itself. So, sorry, not the server. Okay. So you basically have the product with a couple variants inside of the meal plan. And this is handled by Odoo. So you just add additional variants.
So you currently create all the variants for all the combined.
Yeah, and then we combine them in the planner itself.
If sometime you don't want a specific variant to be created, have you?
Well, you can add any variants of your choice, but calories and meals should be there. You don't need to add them.
If you don't want, for example, lunch and 3,000 calories.
Yeah.
Have you thought about how to manage that? Because the variant by default will be created.
Yeah.
But then you need some coding in order to remove them from the options in the front end, right? If you don't want a specific combination.
Well, when you create a specific diet plan, then you should specify the meals, and whatever you specify here will be visible on the front end. So this is not like a system-wide. In this particular plan, you have only 3 variants for the meals, but in this plan, there are 4. So you just handle it in here. And you mentioned this thing, the percent. Yeah, that was a bit weird for us as well. Like if customer wants 2,000 calories, so even if there are 2 meals, they should have 2,000 calories total. But from our customer's point of view, it has to be done this way, to encourage customers to select more meals and pay more money to get the full duration of calories. Because if customer orders only breakfast and dinner, let's say, and eat outside, so really he will get maybe 1,500 calories, but he will eat outside, so he will feel the missing calories by himself. That's the logic of the business behind of it, you know. And yeah, you can add as many variants as you like. It's handled by Odoo. The other thing is, when customer calls you and wants to create a sales order, you don't go to the front end. You just do it like in Odoo. And thanks that this is packed, you can add a product and just choose diet type. The rest will be filled. Then the selections. And that's pretty much everything. Morning. Say 10 days. The drawback of this thing is only that would be consecutive days. You haven't got to the point to add stuff through the calendar in here. Yeah, but we'll be still developing it because new customers are coming, and actually we're trying to put this product as our main product. Because there are plenty of companies using this kind of products, and we know them, so it's as easy as this, you know. Yeah, but it's also a good example how easy it is to customize Odoo to some weird and advanced demands of the customer, because most of the stuff is handled by Odoo. We just added some attributes. We put everything into one pack, and the rest is connected, so it's fully integrated. We tested it on enterprise as well, and it works fine. And hopefully it will work for Odoo 13 as well, so you don't need to do migrations from them. You know, like see, like if you're selling this to the customer, you can use a software as a service model. Like the competitors, they're charging 100 to 200 euro per month just of use, and they also charge per sale. So this practice they're taking like 1 or 2% of sales, and when the customer is using Odoo, they don't need to pay. Even if they use Odoo Enterprise, they just pay monthly fee, but they don't need to put their money from their sales to some company in Poland or in Russia. That's done exactly the same. And the other good thing is you can easily edit this and customize it, because it's Odoo, it's open source, there's a Python code. We left all the comments inside of the code. So if you have a basic IT knowledge, you can fully customize this thing. Yeah. That would be everything. It's a short module. Thanks.
Hello? Hello? It's working. So I think we have just 1 more minute and then we can start. All right, so time to start. It's 4:30. So thanks everyone for being here to look at our presentation on the Odoo Artificial Intelligence Chatbot. What I'm going to present today is the work done by our team. I'm CEO of Pragmatic TechSoft. We are essentially an Odoo service provider. What I'm going to show you is the chatbot we have built, and we're going to go a little bit into chatbot, what they are, and then towards the end we'll show our product. So anyone here is working on a chatbot or plans to work on a chatbot in the near future at this stage? Okay, so maybe towards the end we'll try to know a little bit more what you are trying to do. So let me start here with a little information on what I'm going to cover. So we're going to look at what is artificial intelligence, what is okay, it's moving really fast.
Just go back.
Okay, for every touch it's going. How do I go back? Just can you just go back? Just stand here, sure. Just move. Okay, so we start with our agenda here. So I'm going to look at what are chatbots, what is AI. We're going to go into some of the companies which are using chatbot. Later we will go at looking at how chatbots can be utilized with Odoo, and then we'll do a little demo towards the end to show you our product. So next slide. So what is AI? What is chatbot? So you know, artificial intelligence and natural language processing is changing the way we actually interact with our customers. As you know, AI has been helping in a lot of different domains, and it really is making our life as well as our customers' life easy. Using a chatbot, you can actually automate a lot of things. You can make things easy when it is a repetitive thing, when you want to answer customer queries, or you want to do something which is repetitive. I think chatbot can really help you in that respect. So chatbots are like the future, and they are also in present, used in a lot of companies. Maybe you are already using it on e-commerce sites or on e-commerce and on customer related sites where you're trying to get some information and then you don't know there is not a human behind it, actually a chatbot which you're talking to. Next slide please. So here are some more advantages of using chatbot. I think I've already covered this. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. So here are some of the companies which are actually using chatbot. There are very large corporations who are using chatbot at this stage. We're going to look at some of the use cases where it is being used. So this is one of the use cases where chatbot is being utilized, and in this case mainly in this bank they're using chatbot mainly to look at transactions. You can get information about your credit card information, or you can query. It's a Facebook based chatbot which they're using. In the next slide, Geico is a insurance company provider. They have made Kate as the chatbot. It is a text and voice based, and you can get information like policy information, different kinds of policies you can get without any human intervention. So these are some of the use cases. Here are some of the companies, ERP companies which you already are our competitors, and they are already using chatbot in their platform. So SAP, Sage, these companies you're already aware of. We're going to look now at some of the use cases. Nestle has adopted, which is a Swiss company, and has adopted SAP, and they're using chatbot inside SAP. Next slide. So I'm going over now for the different platforms for chatbots. Now, as maybe you guys have explored. There are many platforms out there where you can actually build your own chatbots. There are some SaaS platforms, there are some cloud providers. I have just listed some of the major ones here. Amazon, Google, Facebook, IBM, and Rasa is one of these platforms. I'm going to provide a little more info on these platforms essentially. I'll first go over with Google Dialogflow, which I think is the platform of our choice, which we have selected for our product. So Google with its cloud capabilities have the best, I think, the best natural language processing and machine learning algorithms. They have the best multi-language interface, so if you are dealing in an environment where different languages need to be supported, I think they have the best multiple languages which they can be supported. They can be easily integrated, they can scale up to the level. I just have few more slides on the other platforms. I'm just going to zip through that very quickly. So we have some features of Amazon Cloud, as well as IBM Watson, as well as Facebook chatbot. These are some of the options which you have, and then towards the end we have the Rasa chatbot, which again is an open source platform. In case you're looking for a chatbot where you want to deploy it on your own organization and you're looking to integrate with those, Rasa is the platform for you. So moving on from there.
This is our implementation.
Okay, so now we are, as I said, we have selected Google for now, and here are some of the reasons why, which I've already covered previously. So multi-language support, easy integration, it can actually be very scalable. You can build very nice, you can build widgets very quickly which can chat. It has API integration available. So I think these are the reasons for which we selected Google as our primary platform to build the chatbot. But that doesn't mean that it cannot work with other platforms which we have set. So we have created a front end, and then it can integrate with other chatbot platforms as well. So now our product is named as Odoo AI Chatbot, and the features of it is primarily it's easily integrable. So if you already have Odoo running, it's just a matter of installing an app. So it's an Odoo app which you can just install as a chatbot, and then it's as easy as that. You can actually solve customer queries through that, as well as analytics. We have this chatbot posted on our App Store, Odoo App Store. So anyone who's interested to use our chatbot can go to the App Store and then purchase this. The way the pricing works for this chatbot is there are two pieces to the pricing. One is the app price, so it's a one-time price you pay, 14.98 euros, and then you have to pay for each request as per the Google. So Google charges you about 0.004 cents for every request which comes to their platform. Here's a little video. We'll not play that. We'll probably look at the actual demo towards the end, and pretty much I think I'll just cover a little information about our company, Pragmatic. So Pragmatic has been in existence for about 10 years now. We have been working with Odoo since version 4. We've pretty much seen the major versions. We've seen this product grow from strength to strength, and today you see something really amazing. While on the way, I think we have been doing a lot of implementations with Odoo. We have 300 plus implementations done in the last 10 years. We have a very experienced team. We essentially provide a lot of different kinds of services around Odoo, customization, implementation, integrations with third-party mobility, as well as other things. So I will just ask Shoaib, who's our lead developer on this project, to show us a little demo of the Odoo AI chatbot, and then followed by we will actually have a Q&A.
So basically, whenever you basically come to the homepage of your website, then we have this particular logo here, and once clicking on that, it basically opens the chat window. You can either speak through the microphone, and the text will be visible, else you can directly type it into the text box. So how this works is currently the front end is only having access to the static commands, and what are static commands are basically the FAQs which the user mostly asks to any website, and it's good instead of navigating anywhere, you can just automate that For example, I have this particular app here. So after installing our module, this particular application will get enabled. You can click on that, and it's basically showing you the static commands which are available. So the static commands work only for the front end, and the analytics command, which I'll show you later, are for the time when the user has already logged in. So to create a static command, you basically have to click on create button, and static command consists of what this command is for info, the intent name which we need for the dialog flow, and the commands. Basically the commands are the utterances through which the users can invoke their particular chatbot. And after hitting this command, the dialog flow through its own NLP will automatically process it and provide us the response, which the user has to just add it here and click on save. So once you click on save, you need to click on build chatbot. Your chatbot will get built in real time, and after that, that particular command can be hit from here. So for example, I already have an intent called as about Belgium. So I can either hit one of these three utterances. So I'll for example say, tell me something about Belgium. So I have this Belgium info, which is basically giving me information here. So we have this response, and your like utterances can also conflict. If you have any in one of them, it can get conflicted there. But like on the utterances which user is adding, and you can basically also add a static one which I already have. So we have these responses. Now the main interesting part is in backend, where through we have a particular NLP and analysis for the Odoo data. So you can ask the questions like we have a complete list here. These are very dynamic, and it gets fetched based on a scheduler. The scheduler runs each at interval of 45 minutes. And it will process all the data for you and keep it ready, so that because a user can have a large amount of data in database, and it's not easy for a particular program to process and analyze that data in a real time. So for that we have near real time data. Like in 45 minutes, basically a cron can run and provide you the data. So once you hit it for the chatbot, it can respond to you. For example, I can say, do I have any meetings today? And this data will get fetched from your Odoo instance. So we have this. You have 3 meetings today. In meeting 1, it is just a description, and after that the important one for the analysis are like compare sales intent. So in compare sales intent, basically you can compare the revenue of your company between the said years. So I'll just copy this command. And say the year should be 2019 and 2018. So I'm basically telling that compare my revenue of 2018 and 2019. These are the dynamic slots which will get filled by the dialog flow. So to dialog flow, we are basically passing 2018 and 2019, stating that these are the years to compare, and dialog flow will pass us the JSON data, which will be passed by a script, and it will basically feed our custom SQL query and fetch the data as per the slots. So it's saying that we didn't find sales for 2018 because no transactions were done. This is just the dummy data. But in 2019 we have sales, which is basically this many dollars. So other commands are basically, which is important KPIs, I can say. like what is the main reason for losing opportunities. You can have your it will fetch basically based on count that some of the reason because of which we lost opportunities are lack of new trainings. These are so this data get filled basically when you reject an opportunity and you mark it as lost. And basically when you mark it as lost, Odoo pops up a window basically asking that what is the reason this lead was rejected. So in that, if you mark it any of the reasons, then based on those reasons we populate how many count is there of each reason and which is the top one. So other commands I'll quickly walk through is the lead conversion rate, that how many leads are getting converted, how many leads you are getting, and how many of those are getting converted to one. So we have basically very low lead conversion rate in this dummy data. You can also get that which users have no task assigned, because a company would like to know that which are the user in the company who are getting no task per day. And basically when we hit users with no task, it will populate that user demo user. Basically this is a demo instance, a demo user, and Joel Willis don't have any tasks right now. Okay, these are the user who don't have tasks assigned. And you can basically have variations with that as well, like list of users with no task, etc. Product category revenue intent. If you so this is an important KPI. Basically you want to know that which category is making the max revenue for you, then this important KPI can help you as well. So just you have to hit that different product categories revenue. So top one product category in terms of revenue for 2019 is our product one is all /cerebrals/ office furniture, which is this many dollars. So if you have more categories, it will populate here. Since we have only dummy data, it is showing only one. Top customer revenue by year intent. So you want to know that what is your like how many customers are you having, which are basically high revenue customers in a particular year as well. That you want to know that which is your customer, whether it is like some company in a year or something. So it is showing you opted to find top 5 customers, because here I had written top 5, and this is basically count which I want to fetch dynamically. But the system is saying in terms of revenue for year 2019, but we found only 4, because there are only 4 customers of which records are found in system, and the list is Lumber INC, etc. And these are basically the data, the customer name and the data. You can just hit it dynamically that you can, like I have asked for 5, you can ask for maybe top 3, top 10, etc. and in a particular year as well, because this is completely dynamic. Top customers by revenue who are giving repeated orders. Again, this is an important KPI that you want to know which customers are giving you repeated orders, and basically the general questions which I had already explained you. And there is a process like you can create the command, you can build it. Now it is important for our service to know that what are the instance details, so that we can fetch the data from it. So we are providing it as a service model. So like you're not having any kind of issues in configuration or something. You just have to provide everything on front end, and rest will be taken care by our scripts, which is hosted on high performance servers. So we have your instance detail. You have to basically enter your instance detail through which we can fetch the data. Account linking, for the dialog flow you need to basically provide the account linking, and for this surely we will help you out that how to set up it. So these are the basically main features of our chatbot. Again, this is now exposed through the chat interface, and in previous talk we had exposed it through an voice interface, which was through Amazon Alexa. And now this year, since the chatbot topic is very hot, so we thought that we will be reusing our existing code. So we basically created a service model for it, and basically we have converted that to a chatbot interface. So it is easily accessible even through voice and through chatbot as well. So it's completely integrated, and basically it's both service, voice as well as chatbot. Would you like to add more?
All right, I think thanks a lot Shoaib, for doing this demo. So I think pretty much I'll get to the question and answers in case you guys have any Q&A, any thoughts and ideas, anything you think you'd like to see more from this particular product, feel free to, yeah.
How intelligent is the chatbot? So if I don't type in the question exactly as you've defined it?
Right. So the way it is now, it's using Google's natural language at the back end. So what it does is, it tries its best to actually match the keywords which it's finding, and then based on that ability, it is able to get you back the right answer,
You
basically.
can have variations in your question, like if utterance is defined, basically you should add lots of utterances. Basically utterances are like what variations the for example user can enter into the chatbot input field. So like if I want to get info of something particular, like I want to know that what are the shipping methods provided by the company. So I can basically ask, for example, do you provide XYZ shipping method? What are the different shipping methods? What are the shipping modes? So some users can choose.
So it is actually, as you're putting those data, it's going into the learning of the algorithm. So you can ask the same question in different ways and it will respond. So you don't have to be really exact to what you have put in the question.
But even in this configuration, if you just change the
order, yes, it
the
will
order
work.
of the words,
It will work.
still
Yes, it will work.
recognize it?
Yes, yes,
It will recognize
yes.
but
It will.
the only condition is you need to have multiple utterances so that the library can learn.
Right,
And
right.
all processing is done at Google Dialogflow. So in that case, if it's a true match, then we get the result.
So when it's a part of keyword, like suppose Wi-Fi, you're looking at what is the Wi-Fi password or whatever, then it will pick up that Wi-Fi and then give you the answer to it, because it's smart enough to identify that you're asking this question. And of course, you have the capability to make it learn better, because every country, every city, every location has their own way of saying the same thing but in different ways. So you can also help it by providing, like you could have one answer and then you can have multiple questions. You can ask the same answer in 10 ways and you can help the algorithm to learn better if that is not working. So if a specific question you find that it is still not picking it up, you can manually go in and put it there, and then it will automatically learn, and next time it will be able to answer it.
Do you have a list of the questions that couldn't be answered?
See, we have the list of questions in terms of the analytics which will work. Now, it is completely giving a list of questions which it can't answer is like infinity, because you could answer and ask anything to Odoo, right? Anything about Odoo. You can ask questions like, which are not supported yet. You can ask, oh, this invoice number, is it paid, not paid, right? It's not currently activated, but we could do that in the future.
So for all those questions, we have a fallback intent. So what it does is the questions which it can't answer, it will provide you generic response that sorry, I didn't understand.
Correct.
But it would be interesting in order to improve the search logic to see what didn't work.
Yes.
Yeah,
so we keep a log of it,
exactly,
so that it learns what is not being supported, and then we'll put that in, because every company is different. People might ask different questions in that organization. So what we have provided is what you can say the initial set of questions. When we implement this, what we do with customers is we look at what is the kind of usage they're going to have, and accordingly we configure it for them. So it's more like not one time for everyone, but it could be specific to specific organizations, because it all depends on how the users of that organization is using it. But the generic stuff we have done, it's not complete again. As I'm saying, there still, like we could do anything. We could just, ask like 200, 500 questions, right? But what we believe in is we have created a mechanism through which this could be achieved. Any other questions? Okay, please go ahead.
Do you have implementations for multiple question-answer dialogues?
Yes, I think what he showed is where you can put multiple questions in there. Can you show that again?
No, currently it's implemented as a question and answer. Like what you're asking is a continuous conversation. Like
okay, you're conversational. Okay.
Answer to this. Yeah. But this is not implemented currently in a conversational way. But if there is a use case, then basically we can do its prototype that how in Odoo it can be done in conversational way.
Okay. Are you working with conversational AI? You're doing something?
We're starting a new e-com project. We'll be looking at what the chat interface
Okay.
is.
So we have done what you say is the first building block of the conversation. The capability is there in the platform to have multiple conversations at the back end. But we have built it for the first block at this stage, but it could be done. What you're asking is doable because the backend, which is the dialog flow, supports conversational AI. So shouldn't be an issue because we have the building blocks in place where this could be supported.
And then does the results of these conversations follow the transactions in the ERP system?
Yes. So right now, you cannot do any transaction from there. Like you can't create anything. You just, it's more reporting. You get this information, that information. But I think what you're asking can be done. It's very possible because we just have to call the web service interface, and using that we can actually do everything through that. So it's feasible. It's feasible to do that.
If you have a proper use case of that, then surely prototypes can be done, and we can achieve to implement that.
Yeah. So for example, if you want an easy way to create a customer, you say create customer, customer name, and give all the necessary fields, and it'll just go and create the customer for you.
Then basically it can go into conversation mode and ask for customer name, customer address.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that I think makes more sense. Yes, yes. So if somebody wants to buy, suppose a ticket online, and they just talk to this bot, the bot really asks them all the details which they can take in. Instead of filling up the form, it is more conversations. So question based. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that can be done. So why we think it's very possible is because of the platform we are building on, the Google platform, and Google supports conversational AI very well. So we just have to provide the interface through the front end where you can actually connect.
So,
yeah, please.
Just following on from that idea, it would seem fairly trivial to be able to connect your chatbot onto pretty much any web form and get it to read out the web form so that you can respond to the web form in a conversational way. That way you could actually provide services to people who are blind.
Okay, yeah.
So can you...
Accessibility area, you're saying that can be implemented. If a form is there and basically the people who can't see can actually be able to just through voice can fill up that form, right?
Yeah, so that could be any view, really.
Yeah, it can be any view. That's right.
So, I mean, can you give me a use case like of this where you think it can be used?
Well, if you can't see the screen,
right,
it's the only way you're going to get into the data.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. But still, I think if you can't see, it's still difficult, I guess, to do this. But I think, of course, if you can type, still it's not easy. Like it has to be voice enabled purely, where everything you're typing is either read, or when you're saying, then it has to be converted from voice to text, essentially.
I mean, in some places it's not maybe a strong requirement, but it's a weak requirement to make interfaces disabled accessible.
Sure, sure. So for that we have this other product, which Odoo Voice, which is purely voice-based. So it can run on Alexa and some of the voice platforms. So this is mainly for pure because people really like to text, and texting is kind of like, instead of filling up the forms, people find texting is much easier. So any other questions? All right, I think thanks a lot. You guys have been a very patient audience, and thanks for being there. And if anyone wants to talk to us and explore our product, feel free. Anyone can reach us out to us for further, even if you guys think we could improve this product or anything where we think we can really, work together on something, we are very open. Okay, thank you.
everyone. My name is Maxime. I'm a functional consultant on Odoo for 3 years so far. Today I will present you the new app survey with the configuration allowing you to use certification for a survey. And I will quickly introduce you what is a survey. We will see survey in Odoo, how to build that, what are the different tips and tricks that you can do for a survey. Then we will see the case where certification can be linked to a survey, or we can transform a survey into a quiz and certificate someone who passed the test. I will, after that, check deeply the configuration and the conclusion. So yeah, small quote from our friend Donald Trump. So what is a survey? A survey is a tool to collect data concerning individual information. So the advantages of that is of a survey on a website again. Is collecting lots of data. So you can send the survey to several participants and collect lots of information. It's really quick to do and easy. Cheaper also compared to other way to collect data such as door-to-door and something like this. So the disadvantages of that is that when you have questions, you can limit, you can have like several choices, and those choices are of course fixed and could be a bit limited if you just answer to the question, but it doesn't correspond to really the answer you want to give. So yeah, it could be a limitation for that. The other disadvantage is no response. So if no one answers, you will have a lack of information and the poor design of your survey. So if you build it correctly, you can have relevant information. But if questions are not correctly asked, or there is some theoretical rules to follow, you can have like a bias in your information. So survey, you can of course use that for customer satisfaction. So you want to know if your customers are satisfied with your product, want to know if you can improve your product or something similar. Employee feedback, you want to know if your employees, the well-being of your employees is good, if the employees like to work in the environment of your company, for your company, and of course the recruitment. Those are some examples. Of course, you can have multiple topics for that. Recruitment is something that is linked in Odoo with the app recruitment and survey, because one of the steps is when you just create a job offer, one of the first steps could be to fulfill a form and so retrieve all the information that you need to keep going. So in Odoo, that's all you can see the survey app. Surveys are with a Kanban view, and you have, of course, the draft in progress closed. Draft is when you have started to build your survey, and when you launch it, you can put it in progress, and so on. You can also see the number of answers directly here. If you have a certification, you can see the rate of success for all the participants. So when you enter in the form, the way to share it is through a mail, or you can just use a link that you post on LinkedIn if it's regarding a job offer. And so it's really quick and really easy to just share. So when you click on that link, you arrive here on your website. You can start the survey, and as you can see, on the survey itself, you will have several questions grouped by topics or by sections that you can determine. You can determine if you want, I don't know, several sections grouping all those questions. You can decide also to have one page per section, one page with all the questions, one page per questions. So the idea is entering data. So where do you live? I'm living in Belgium. And as you can see, you will have different way to get the input. So in that case, I can use a date. What is my birth date? Let's say today. which is not the case. How frequently do you buy products online? You can ever choose among the list. Of course, in that case, it's a limited and fixed choice. So what is suggested is if you want to let the customer or the person adding more information, you can add a comment field which is appearing here, and you can just enter some data. So how many times did you order a product on your website? And here will be something like numerical. Next page, and I will keep going with my survey all along. Keep fulfilling the field or the question. As you can see here, we have also the possibility to have a table matrix where you can define different scale of answer from totally disagree to completely agree, and you can just fulfill them. If you notice, there is some just a star here after some questions, meaning that the question is mandatory, so you cannot keep going without answering to it. And if I forgot to answer to one of these questions, let's say I'm just stopping here and I want to submit my survey, I will have a reminder, a warning telling me that I have to keep answering to all the questions. So what happens when I have submit my survey? You can review your answers. That's another feature. That's something that you can configure if you want to let the person having the review of his answers, so he can have a quick look of it. And then in the back end, you can also see that the number has increased, and it's now 7 because I have another participant who has achieved the survey. I can have a look in my answers. Here I can see all the person that I have answered to that survey, and having the details of all the information they entered. And we can also have the result of our survey. So if I'm clicking on that, I can quickly check what is the most, all the answers for that questions. I can also check the different information entered, and having some graph saying, okay, for that question, I have like lots of one person comment order and so on. So you can have a quick overview of your of the result of your survey, and that's really nice. You can also see the number of skipped questions and so on. So the link with certification is simply adding some scoring on questions. So the idea is to create a survey with questions, and on each question you can determine the answers, and the right answers will have a score, and at the end you can just decide what is the rate, the minimum percentage to succeed the test. So that's the idea for the certification. When you succeed the test, you can receive by mail a PDF with a small certificate, such as this one, as an example. And the idea also is to use that in the e-learning platform. My colleague Benjamin already talked about that this afternoon. If you want to have more information, you can review his talk on the video YouTube. But yeah, for example, quickly in the e-learning platform, you have a course, you follow the videos or the documentation, and at the end you can have a quick quiz or test, and when you pass it, you got the certificate. So in Odoo, it's a bit different. As you can see, just a minute, I will go back in the back end. And the survey itself, called certificate, is exactly similar. It's working as well as the survey, the normal survey. The only thing is, when you go on the test itself, you can limit the time. So you can determine like 10 minutes to do my test. I can also allow only some people to do that, so it can be public or private. And I can also maybe review my answers as for the survey. So same as before. Let's say we have I'm answering to the question, select all the existing product that I'm selling, chair floor protection, Fanta, conference chair, and so on. So we can quickly answer to that to see what is the result of my test. Did I pass it or not? Yep. Yep. And when I submit it, I can see directly my score. Did I pass or not? I can review my answer. Of course, it tells me if I succeed or not. In that case, I have failed. But I can see also what are the percentage of correct answer and incorrect and the one I skipped. So you can see a quick result directly. And so regarding the configuration, we have the configuration of a survey, which is exactly the same for the certification. As you can see, we have the layout of your quiz. You can display it on one page, several pages, and so on. You can limit the time. You have also the possibility to randomize the question. So it means you have a batch of questions, and when someone is attempting the survey, Odoo will select randomly some questions among the list. So it's also a way to just have different batch of quiz. Scoring. If no score, it's a simple survey. If you score it, it means that you have you are doing a quiz. Yeah, sorry, a bit in advance. And so you can determine the minimum score to pass to succeed the test. Give a certificate. You can send an email when it's done, and if it's a success. If it's a success, you can just send an email with the PDF. Also, you can grant badges if you have employees. So it's also a nice way to reward people. And if I'm going back, just you have the candidates. This way, you can determine if you just want to send a link and it's public, or if you want to allow only certain people to attend the quiz and see the quiz. Login required, so people have to be logged into your website as a portal user, and you can limit the attempt. So you can only do in that case to try to for the survey, for the test. Type of questions. There you can enter the question and decide which type of question you want to use. Of course, it's really important depending on the input you want to receive and for the way you will structure the form itself. So as you can see, you can enter some text. You have date, time, and so on. Multiple choice with one answer, several answers allow the matrix, which is corresponding to the table. And so if I looking at that, I can share it quickly just like this, clicking on share. I have the link. I can post it on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Send an email to the people I want to do the test. I can see also the number of certified people and the people who have answered to the test. So here quickly you can, that was the view I showed you in the slide. You can give a quick description, and for the questions you can determine if you the information you want. For example, if you have multiple choices with one answer or only multiple choices, you can decide if you want it mandatory with radio button, a list. So there is several possibilities in the parameters. And you can also here add a comment if you want to let the people just comment the question if it's necessary. Okay. Just one thing. Here you can decide if you want to randomize the test per section. So you can decide in the section itself if you want to randomize the question. So it's really by section, and that's also a cool feature. Okay, so the main thing regarding the new app survey is the time limit, the randomized question, score the question, which is to do a quiz, and the attempt limit, and you can grant badges and certificate. That's for the summary of the new feature in survey and certification. Regarding the main advantages of survey in Odoo is that it's integrated with HR, website, e-learning platform. So you can use the recruitment app with survey, and everything is linked to, so that's important. Is because you can really build it quickly. It's not so complicated to do that in a few seconds, a few minutes. You can build your form, send it to several people, and you are just waiting for the result. Topics could be recruitment, quiz, poll, whatever you want. If you want to make a blind test with your friends, you can use that. And the flexibility, because you have lots of parameters, it's really flexible to adapt the input you want to receive. Cost, very low regarding classical way, door-to-door cold phoning and so on. Thank you for your attention. If you have some questions. Yeah.
Can you put some conditions? For example, if you say yes, you go to this question, and if you say no, you go to the next one?
Not yet. In that case, we are just having questions, but we cannot add conditions. Yeah, but we cannot add a condition regarding that. Not especially. Yes?
Is it editable from the front side of the website?
Yeah.
The servers used to be, but I think the previous talk today said that the certification wasn't, so I'm a bit confused.
What do you mean certification wasn't?
Drag and drop. Can you the website editor?
Oh, no. Indeed. So it's a page on which you arrived, which is hidden by default on your website. When you say drag and drop, you want to add some additional question directly in the front end, which will have an impact.
That's going beyond what I was up to.
Okay.
But that is the natural conclusion to that concept. Yeah, I mean, but the first thing that somebody might wish to do is to add some explanatory text, diagrams.
But in that case, you could maybe add a block with text. Above and below the quiz or the survey questions. But if you want to specify something, you can just add some comments on the question itself. So you can play with that too.
And then sort of follow up from that. The results page, you've shown it as visible on the back end.
Yes.
You would like your visitors to your website, if they're interacting with your poll, you'd like them to see the results, right? So is it accessible?
You mean this page?
Yeah, well that's a vendor certification one, which is perhaps the wrong sort of example, but if you have a poll, say.
For the result of the poll directly.
Which is your favourite football team, right, for example?
Yeah.
See the results of that because it's a way of trying to engage you.
In fact, the results you can see it in backend, but not directly in front end, except for the certification and the answer you got from that. I mean, publicly, you can.
So certifications, for example, a certification as part of a course. If you were logged in, you would see that under your account information, the courses that you've taken.
Yes, you will see that.
You wouldn't necessarily see your entries on the certification test or any of the results of the certification tests?
What you will see is your results, your answers. You will see if it's wrong or not. But you won't see the global result.
Okay, so you'd actually see a history of your results?
Yeah. You can have a history of that. Yes?
Can I create surveys anonymous, especially if you want honest replies from employees? Might be interesting.
sorry, I didn't get the question. You want to create a module for?
I want to create a survey where it's not standing which user answered which question.
Okay. Anonymized.
Replies. I need to make it anonymous.
In that thing, no, the one that.
Maybe by sharing the same link and sending the survey to myself, and then sharing the same link to everybody, so it will always be me answering. Or
except if you ask to be logged in, because the link.
Yes, of course.
The link is something common that you have to.
There's no checkbox, make it anonymous.
No. Thank you.
Super cool.